happy to announce the publishing of Mark Chironna's latest book. And we're excited because we feel like it's something that church that Jesus is building really needs. Mark, do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. The new book that's coming out is called Live Your Dream, How to Plan for Success. And one of the things that I have been persuaded by is that there is a principle that the ancient prophets understood. And it is this: when you write down the vision you've been given, there is something about writing it down and inscribing it in a way that you can go back and read it that actualizes and activates your will and your intention to cooperate with all the things your destiny is part of. And so writing down, living the dream requires writing it down and committing to it. Most of us spend most of our time going through life saying, "Que sera, sera," whatever will be, will be. And yet there's a very clear spiritual principle that we need to operate in, and that is that there is a co-creative reality in your relationship with God. And there are things that you have to do and principles you need to operate in order for destiny to unfold in your life. There's a script inside you that's come prepackaged from the day you were born. And that script is loaded with treasures and opportunities, gifts, skills, and competencies until, however, you bring them to speech and then put them on paper, you may never realize your dreams. I often have said over the last 15 years, most people die with their music still inside them. One of my goals for those who are hungry enough to want to be part of that rare percentage on the planet that achieve their dreams is to help activate and actualize.
Hold it. What do you mean by actualize?
Actualize means to actualize means to take it from its raw idea until its actual fulfillment. So to go from a dream to a vision to an experience to a fulfillment, to go back and say, I accomplished this. It's more than a goal. It's about well-formed outcomes. One of the things that happens in our lives is when we hear about setting goals. Goals are things that you might or might not reach. But when you set an outcome, in other words, what do you want to come out of your life that's bigger than what you have right now? What's the dream of your life? And then if you begin to build an internal receptive representation of what that will look like, feel like, taste like, smell like, touch like, until it becomes so real inside you that when you describe it in words that literally every time you read it, it reinforces that. Something will happen by the Spirit that couldn't happen any other way, that will cause you more than likely over time to be one of those people who sees that thing come to pass, or sees them in every chapter of your life come to pass from beginning to end, again and again and again.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
That how, to me it seems like you almost have a measure of faith to be able to write stuff down that just seems totally unbelievable.
I think you do have to have a measure of faith. I also think it's important to realize that within us, there are hidden treasures and hidden talents within us that aren't awakened until we are ready to dare to believe that they're there.
So by writing them down,
you awaken that.
No matter how far out in left field you think they
exactly. And I think before we censor ourselves, we need to give ourselves permission to dream as big as we can dream. Now, the one thing I would say is we've heard a lot of motivational speakers over the years say you can have it all. I don't believe you can have it all, because there are things you have been built and designed for by God that I wasn't built and designed for. God built you to be a publisher. I haven't got that ability or that grace, but in the publishing world, Don Nori can have everything he wants in the publishing world, because the grand design of his life corresponds to the divine blueprint of his destiny. Yeah. And there's no limits on that. But I do believe we can have it all. Now, in our sphere of influence, in our sphere of our life script, I don't believe you can have it all at once.
Okay.
So I think that when it comes to living your dream, you want to give yourself your whole life to live it. As a matter of fact, your dream needs to be big enough that you don't fulfill it in your lifetime.
That's very powerful. We'll talk about that later.
Okay.
But I got another question for you. So what do you do if you're not sure if it's your life's dream or if you're just imagining some awesome thing you want to do?
You know, I think you've got to ask yourself, do I have a want to? If I've got a want to, I believe it's ours. Because, you know, there is Solomon said, trust in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart. So, not to get really too deep and too profound, but desire to me is the seedbed of all creativity and intention. So, if somebody desires something, if they have a want to, then the want to will lead to a how to. And the how-to will lead to a chance to.
Okay, let me ask you another question then.
Okay.
In many circles, our life as Christians is so marginalized. And anytime we dream anything exciting or big, we're told, well, you're just being too proud. You're dreaming too big. Who are you to think that this can happen to you? And so there's an issue of, well, geez, you know, because, you know, the average believer really does love the Lord.
Right.
And the last thing they want to do is offend him.
Right.
And they don't want to be proud. They don't want to, you know, they don't want anything that's not theirs. So how do you tell people, you know what, don't worry about that, the pride issue, you know, because if you know it and God knows it and you can write it down, I guess.
You know, I think, Don, over the last 1,000 years in history, there's a lot of voices that have taken their persuasion on dogma and substituted their dogma for direct experience with Christ. And when we hear their voices, because they've influenced generation after generation, it's more a refined legalism that says, we're going to let you know God doesn't approve of this, God doesn't approve of that. When I look at the words of Jesus, organic words, no filters, no FDC, red dye or yellow dye, no preservatives, no additives, just the raw, organic words of Jesus. I find Jesus to be the real coach of human potential.
That is awesome.
And I find him to be the one that wants us to succeed more than we want to succeed.
Or those around us want us to succeed.
Exactly. And to me, the people that don't want us to succeed are people who have themselves not succeeded in where they are, and in order to justify their failure to get to where they really believe they could be, they suppress their own desire because they believe it's wrong to have it, and then they turn around and say, you have to do the same thing because you have to now be made in my image, not in the image of God.
Awesome. The book is called
Live Your Dream.
Live Your Dream. And Destiny Image is releasing this book September 1st.
September 1st.
September 1st. We'll have it available. You can pre-order it to make sure you get one of the first copies. DestinyImage.com. Go to the store and you can pre-order it there. Again, the name?
Live Your Dream.
Live Your Dream by Mark Chironna. You need to have it. Hey, thanks a lot.